expresses confidence in forming government after landmark poll. Opposition says won't engage in obstructive politics. World leaders congratulate Tariq Rahman. US President Donald Trump warns Iran of a very traumatic outcome without a nuclear deal. He expressed hope for progress in the next month following his White House meeting with Netanyahu. North Korea vows a terrible response to any further drone incursions from the south. Seoul denied official involvement in the January incident, attributing it to civilians. Officials announced the conclusion of the immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis. A congressional hearing reviewed ICE's presence, while a judge ruled that detainees were denied access to lawyers. Obama says U.S. less safe after Trump reverses Obama-era ruling that greenhouse gases endanger public health. The White House called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars cheaper. U.S. President Donald Trump says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should receive a pardon for corruption charges, saying Israeli President Isaac Herzog should be ashamed of himself for not granting one. Russia fully blocks US messenger app WhatsApp, owned by Meta Platforms, for failing to comply with local law, suggesting Russians turn to a state-backed national messenger Max instead. NASA to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station, replacing a crew that was evacuated early due to a medical issue. The pre-dawn launch was delayed by 2 days over adverse weather forecasts across the US East Coast. Viewers, we have some breaking news now coming in connection to the Bangladesh. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has now been officially confirmed to win the election by a landslide margin. Election Commission Senior Secretary Akhtar Ahmed announced the results, confirming the scale of the BNP's majority. Official figures show the BNP-led alliance captured 212 seats, compared with 77 seats won by the Islamist-led Jamaat-e-Islami alliance. Voter turnout reached 59% nationwide. Alongside the parliamentary vote, a referendum on a sweeping democratic charter was also held. The proposed reforms were endorsed by 60% of voters, signaling public backing for broader political changes. Shruti Das Gupta is there with us. She is an international affairs analyst, joins us from New Delhi. Shruti, thanks very much for joining me. It's confirmed BNP has won the election. It's gotten a 2/3 majority along with its allies. But let's also talk about Jamaat-e-Islami, which along with its allies had 77 seats. How do you think Jamaat's resurgence is going to shape Bangladesh polity and its secular structure?
Well, the secular word no longer exists now as part of the, the Bangladeshi constitution, because the first thing Yunus, despite not having the power to do so, the first thing Muhammad Yunus did was take out secular from the constitution of Bangladesh. So that was already a mute question. He was very pro-Islamists, Muslims both. And he has said that 90% of this nation is Muslim, so I don't understand why the word secular needs to be contained in the constitution, and that has now found backing, although not really, as you have just pointed out, 60% voter turnout, and out of those 60%, only 60-some% have voted for accepting of this new 84-point referendum, which puts the actual number of people backing the changes in constitution to less than 50%. But they're not going to, of course, put that figure out for the world. They're going to say that 60% plus voters voted for the changes, and so they're going to incorporate it. Jamaat as such is bad news for Bangladesh, because they have always focused on their Islamic identity. They want, in fact, their leader put out an ex-post that he had to retract, where he compared working women to prostitutes. So that is an idea that you should get on how Jamaat-e-Islami in the politics would then continue forth. They would be very Sharia aligned. They would be very hardliner and fundamentalist, and they would continue to. This is the fear that most nations around the world have now, that with the amnesty provided by political presence, they are going to now continue to radicalize the new Bangladesh, as the 2026 charter would now have it, and try and decouple Bangladesh from its Indic related identity. So they are trying to form anti-India axis and and would try and foment anti-India, anti-minority sentiments within the nation. If you see the regions that Jamaat-e-Islami have won in, most of it borders West Bengal, and that is worrying a lot of Indian analysts like myself, because that means that there are strongholds where brainwashed, very radical elements reside in majority, happen and have sympathy with those particular identities and mindsets that the Jamaat-e-Islami propagates, shows that they are very close to the Indian border, and those Indian borders happen to be very, very porous. With West Bengal elections coming forth within this year, most of India's analysts are panicking what this really means for us in the future. Now, Jamaat-e-Islami is also the group that was part of the Razakars that perpetrated unaccountable violence, rape, pillage, murder, loot of all order during the 1971 order. They are so pro-Pakistan and their Islamic identity that they refuse to have anything to do with the natural identity of the people of Bangladesh. So them getting this kind of vote and political presence is of course going back in time kind of era for Bangladesh. They are pulling back away from their identity as a secular state, a place where minorities could also flourish, a place that had good relationship with all its neighbors, was able to do a good balancing act, India and China both, as well as Pakistan. From that, it is on a path which is headlong towards fundamentalism, to pro-Pakistanism, and this is the most dangerous time in the world for Pakistan and fundamentalism and Pakistan-related terrorism to find root there. We have Hafiz Saeed making statements in October of 2025 that the next attack from India will be planned from Bangladesh. That itself should tell you why palpitations are on the high.
All right, sure. Shruti, let's also discuss the voter turnout. 59% is a rather good turnout for Bangladesh. What do you think has compelled the voters to really come out and vote? 3.5% were in fact first-time voters. 8 lakh expatriates have also cast their ballots through IT-based systems. Do you think it's because of the suppression in the previous regimes that the voters now found a chance to come out and exercise their ballots, or what other reasons could have contributed?
I think the women voters were compelled to come out and vote. They're generally very blasé about going through their daily lives, and election day is just a blip in their lives. But I think the women voters were part of the reason why BNP has won with such a landslide victory, because of the statements made by Jamaat-e-Islami ensured that people came out and voted against that statement, if not for BNP. The other part is that the first-time voters that you said, that the student-led revolution has inspired a lot of first-time voters to come out and participate in the democratic process. So that is why we've seen a higher turnout ratio as well. The 40% turnout in the earlier 2024 election, where Sheikh Hasina claimed victory, was probably incumbency level voter turnout, where they felt that she's going to win any which way, whether I cast my vote or not. So that is a sentiment that people generally harbor when they feel their voter franchise does not really matter much. But here, the threat was very real. If they wanted their voice heard, whether as an opposition to what the Jamaat-e-Islami are saying, or whether in support of a BNP, at least, which is a better option between the devil and the deep blue sea. So BNP is the better option. So they have gone forth and voted for BNP. So the voter turnout actually shows that people at least wanted to be heard and wanted to ensure that Jamaat-e-Islami doesn't hold more power. So the chicken neck area and the other areas that we speak of have gone to BNP, which is a very good news in one way for India, and that shows that a larger section of people, especially minority regions, if you see Chattogram area and all of that entire Cox's Bazar in that area, they've all gone to BNP. So the minorities have put their vote forth for BNP and asking for protection, because they realize that under Jamaat-e-Islami stronghold, they will not find that kind of protection from violence, pre-poll violence that we saw, even post the student revolution violence that we witnessed. So they're having hope that by showing up and voting for a party that says we will protect all religions, at least even if the secular word does not exist in their constitution anymore, there will be equality for them.
All right, and how do you see the fact that 60% have also voted in the referendum for a democracy? How much do you think that's going to allow for direct US involvement or interference or intervention, whatever you call it, with
that
Bangladesh?
84-point referendum, I don't even think the people that voted for them even knew 10 of those points. So
Yeah.
let's not talk about 84 points. So
Yes.
you can, that in itself is a mockery of the change that the Yunus government wanted. There are some positive parts, like like splitting the house into two, like limiting the terms of the prime minister, like ensuring that there is the executive body, that is the judicial body, and the executive bodies have oversight and not direct control under the parliamentary bodies. So there are some good parts of it, but the sneaky parts are that before elections there will be an external monitoring. That means 6 months before, the elected government has to decouple, and external power is going to then regulate and monitor how the elections are going to be held. I understand that Bangladesh is not new to referendums, but this one, it has more points that goes against them rather than for them. And for me, it feels where they've kind of they've diluted the 1971 liberation war. They've kind of decoupled from their Bengali identity. They don't want to be called that. They want to be called Bangladeshi. I think the people don't even know what they have voted for. And when this kind of thing comes into play, that means that external entities are going to continue to interfere in internal politics of Bangladesh. That makes Bangladesh fair game for all future elections, where nations, via lobbying, via external monitoring committees, are going to put pressure on how this entire story of the new Bangladesh goes forth.
Shruti, thanks very much for your comments. Viewers, let's move on and tell you some more details as far as the results are concerned. Residents of Dhaka are expressing optimism following the Bangladesh Nationalist Party's sweeping election victory. While some acknowledged irregularities during the election, many highlighted the peaceful and festive atmosphere on voting day. Despite allegations of vote rigging in certain areas, there is a strong belief that the majority of people voted for the BNP. Public is hopeful about Tariq Rahman's promises, particularly around controlling commodity prices, tackling corruption and driving national development. With high expectations for the new government, citizens are eager to see action on these issues. Let's listen to some of the voices of the people in Dhaka.
তারেক রহমান যেসব আশা নিয়ে মানুষের কাছে যে কথাগুলো বললো যে ভবিষ্যৎ কিভাবে আগামী 5টা বছর কিভাবে দেশ পরিচালনা করবে কথা বলছে, ওইসব আসলে বাস্তব হবে ইনশাল্লাহ।
আমরা এখন দেখতেছি বিএনপি কতটুকু ভালো, আমাদের জন্য ভালো কিছু দেখাবে, সেটি থেকে আমরা খুশি হবে। দল এখন ক্ষমতায় আসছে, এখন আমরা খুশি হয়েছি, এখন কাজে খুশি হতে হবে সকলকে। কাজ দিয়ে আমাদেরকে খুশি হতে হবে, কারণ জাতির অনেক আকাঙ্ক্ষা আছে, জাতি অনেক কিছু প্রত্যাশা করে, যেমন দ্রব্যমূল্যের নিয়ন্ত্রণ, দুর্নীতি, চাঁদাবাজ, এগুলো নিয়ন্ত্রণ করতে হবে, দেশের উন্নয়ন করতে হবে। সকল কিছু মিলে অনেক জিনিস রয়েছে এখানে, সেগুলোর থেকে আমাদের দিকে নজর দিতে হবে।
We now move on, viewers. There is in fact some breaking news coming in over Thailand. Its caretaker Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul has said that his Bhumjai Thai party, which won the weekend election, has agreed to form a coalition government with the Phu Thai party. The move signals a major step toward forming a new administration, even though the official election results have not yet been formally endorsed. Anutin said he was honored that senior executives from Phu Thai party met him and confirmed their support for Bhumjai Thai party to lead the coalition as previously planned. The agreement would bring together two influential political forces, including allies of jailed former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow at the Hudson Institute of Tokyo, joins me in this discussion. Dr. Nagao, thanks very much for joining us. What really does Anutin's election mean for Thailand and the world?
In case of the Thailand, always three party divided, and no party can get the majority. So coalition is matter, but who ally with who is indeed very important this case, because before the election, the most popular party in the survey was People's Party, the current opposition party. But that People's Party has some problem in Thailand because they want to reform the royal system in Thailand. This was taboo. So that's why the view from the military-led ruling party or view from the traditional taxing support party, view from these two parties, which do not want to touch the royal system in Thailand. This People's Party is one kind of the dangerous party. So that's why this time they allied and to form the coalition government against this People's Party. But at the same time, that has just started the negotiation to form the coalition government. If this negotiation will fail, and of course there's a possibility another choice they need to seek. In this case, this is uncertain. But view from the current situation, which the ruling party is the biggest, not majority but biggest, and the taxing rate party is less than 1/3, but still the third largest party in the parliament. In this case, biggest and third largest can ally against the second largest party could happen. That is true.
All right, Dr. Nagao, thanks very much for your comments. Do continue to stay on with us. Viewers, another breaking news coming in now. The Kremlin has responded to speculation about Russia's use of the US dollar, stating that Russia did not choose to stop using the currency, but rather the US restrictions prompted that shift. Russian officials also said discussions about competing currencies will likely remain stalled until the Ukraine conflict is resolved. Furthermore, the Kremlin addressed recent reports about a potential US-Russia economic pact, confirming Moscow's interest in cooperation with US companies, some of which are eager to return to the Russian market. The Kremlin also noted that a new round of peace talks concerning Ukraine is set to take place next week. And now moving ahead, viewers, a Russian drone attack has killed one person and injured 6 others at a port in Ukraine's Odessa region, according to Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister Oleksiy Kuleba. The attack, which targeted port and railway infrastructure, also caused significant damage to business facilities, fertilizer warehouses and vehicles, sparking a fire. Kuleba added that the strike disrupted power, heat and water supplies in the region. The Odessa area, which includes vital Black Sea and Danube ports, has frequently been targeted in recent weeks. Railway infrastructure in the Dnipropetrovsk region was also hit. Moving ahead to some news from Germany now. Foreign Minister Johann Vadeful has said that the recent comments by US government representatives have caused irritation within NATO, and the Munich Security Conference is an opportunity to overcome differences. Vadeful has added that the alliance is also under pressure and there is alienation, there is irritation about some of the things we hear from Washington. Vadeful has also said that Germany needs to talk about this in the summit together, and Germany wants to define the common denominators and the meaning of NATO. All right, Dr. Nagao continues to stay on with us. Dr. Nagao, requested to join us back. Munich conference is going to be crucial. Do you think there's going to be any common framework that could be arrived upon?
In this case, absent of the U.S. Secretary, he has a message because America do not need the European ally for their interest, and the European allies need America for their interest. But that is the perception of the United States we want to send as a message. So that's why, without something evidence, the U.S. involvement in Europe is America's interest. America do not have will to join deeply. So because the perception of the U.S. side is this is wasting money. So that's why the European side need to prove the U.S. involvement in Europe and cooperate with the NATO is beneficial the view from the U.S. interest. That is needed recently. So that's why they try to prove, for example, the increasing defense budget to the 5% of the GDP, and the European shares the security burden. And in this case, U.S. involvement could be minimum. So that's why cooperate with the U.S. If this size is minimum, the European can say this is beneficial and cost effective for the United States. The interesting part is this is not purely related to defense and security. Indeed, there is a possibility this is related with right and left politically. So because the European government shares liberal rule-based order, something like that, and the current American government do not like this kind of the idea itself. So because of the ideologies gap between Europe and the United States, U.S. government's image toward Europe is not good. Of course, the U.S. want to focusing on China or Western American continent, so that's why Europe is the second priority or third priority. That is true. But at the same time, this ideology, right or left, is also affecting this situation. So European side faced some difficulty to prove that the involvement in Europe is beneficial for the United States. So because of the, this is not just the issue of defense and security, this is the issue of the ideology. So that is the current situation they're facing. So Europeans want to say, want to complain about the U.S. attitude. And that's why the foreign minister of Germany revealed his opinion in this place. And but this kind of remark makes more frustration between U.S. and Europe. That could happen.
Right, Dr. Nagao, once again, thanks very much. Request you to stay on once again. Viewers, let's tell you some more details that are now coming in connection to the Epstein files. Now, the newly released U.S. Justice Department files are revealing that Dr. Mehmet Oz, the former celebrity physician and Donald Trump's administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, invited Jeffrey Epstein to a Valentine's Day party in 2016. The email sent by Oz and his wife came nearly a decade after Epstein's first sex crime charges. Though Oz is not accused of wrongdoing, the documents show other interactions, including a 2016 email with Epstein and an event invitation in 2014 where Oz was a speaker. Epstein died in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. All right. Request Dr. Nagao to join us and give his comments on the new revelations and resignations that are being triggered. Rumla, Goldman Sachs top executive, has just tendered her resignation. We are also now picking up names of Mehmet Oz, who's been named the top physician again in the US. How do you respond to all these figures being named, and how do you think investigation against them could proceed after all these years?
This issue is under investigation, so that's why the one by one, step by step information is revealing. And because of the Epstein, the wide human connection, so that's why it is expanding and escalating. So that's why day by day, it's a new name we can find, and scandal itself is expanding. But at the same time, how deep involvement with the crime Epstein committed is a matter indeed, because just joining the party or just meeting with Epstein is not a crime. Crime is he involved human trafficking or other many violation of the rule. It's a matter but most of the guests in the party hasn't realized such kind of crime, or even if they identify, but they haven't committed. So many people think that they are not perpetrator of the Epstein crime, but it could be the scandal. So that's why, without a total investigation or total information published by something trustworthy official, how wide the scandal or how big the incident is not still clear. So, so this is under the process of the escalating, but at the same time, this is still just a gossip. And if this foreign spy intelligence service involved this issue, it could be the national security issue. But until now, so far, still this is under investigation.
All right, Dr. Nagao, thanks very much then for joining us with your comments on all these discussions. And viewers, let's move ahead now. Beijing has urged Tokyo to protect the rights and safety of the Chinese crew members after Japanese authorities seized a Chinese fishing boat and arrested its captain in waters near Japan. The incident took place off Nagasaki, where Japanese officials say the vessel failed to stop for inspection in Japan's exclusive economic zone and was subsequently detained. China's foreign ministry spokesperson called on Japan to strictly respect the China-Japan fisheries agreement, enforce laws fairly, and ensure the safety and legitimate rights of the Chinese crew. Let's listen in.
政府一贯要求中国的渔民依法依规作业，同时坚决维护中国渔民的合法权益。希望日方严格遵守中日渔业协定，公正执法，保障中方船员安全和合法权益。中方将采取一切必要措施，坚决打击境外反华势力的渗透、破坏活动，坚决维护国家的主权、安全和发展利益。反华势力的图谋不会得逞。
And on to some tech news before we wrap up this bulletin, viewers. OpenAI has raised concerns with US lawmakers accusing Chinese AI startup DeepSeek of trying to replicate models from OpenAI and other leading US companies. In a memo to the US House Select Committee, OpenAI said DeepSeek has been using a technique called distillation to copy AI models and enhance its own training. The memo also revealed that DeepSeek employees have been developing methods to bypass OpenAI's access restrictions, including using third-party routers. OpenAI stated that the Chinese company's AI models, including DeepSeek V3 and DeepSeek R1, are advancing quickly, raising competition concerns in the global AI race. That's all we have time for, viewers. Keep watching NewsX World for more news and updates from around the world.